Hello and welcome to another episode of This Week in Metropolis, a show all about pop culture from the last week, starring me, James, and him over there, Matt Porteous, aka King Porteous. We are delighted this week to be joined by everyone's favourite attention seeking geek, Ben Crampton, first time guest as well. So we look forward to speaking to him. I've had the pleasure of being on a show with Ben before, so I know a little bit about him already. But we look forward to you hearing all about him if you're not familiar with him as much as I am. Matt certainly isn't, although I know you've done your research, so I'll let you off. But before we get into that and all the stories between the three of us this week, we've got a couple of new features as well, and we've got another question from Mark to come into all three of us. But Matt, where can the listeners and viewers find us?
Well, today is a very exciting day because not only can you always find us on YouTube, you can always find us on Facebook, you can always find us on Twitter, you can always find us on Instagram. Today, we are streaming on Twitch as well. For the very first time, we've set up our Twitch profile and we're on there. So if anyone joins us from Twitch, welcome. If you like watching there instead, check us out there. If not, listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, everything else. And yeah, you can listen to us and don't have to see these beautiful faces, which is a shame. But
Yeah.
hey,
Wasted.
it's wasted.
Right, but join us after this.
Hello and welcome to This Week in Metropolis.
Hello and welcome.
Just vibing.
just vibing.
That's what we do.
Well, that's it. That's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Hashtag just vibing. That's what it is. Yeah.
Ben, thank you so much for joining us for the first time, as I mentioned before the intro there. We've had the pleasure of being on some of Pete's Triple G shows together before. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. But before we get into about you and your channel and your background,
Favourite subject matter. Yeah.
exactly, I've got some breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Or more, a breaking question for the two of you.
Right.
I'll start with Ben because I know the answer to this one already. But what do you have for tea tonight, Ben?
I had a 5 chicken select meal, medium, because I'm watching my weight.
Yeah.
But I had some cheese dippers with it. And a McFlurry.
Always got to get the side.
So wait, I've got a question on, like, based on that. When you get the cheese dippers, are you? Because I, if they're on the menu, I think I've got to have those.
Yeah.
And they're always like a bit of rubber in breadcrumbs. Like I'm
awful.
like horrifically overwhelmed by it. Is it the same for you with that?
Yeah, they're seasonal though, right? So there's always some kind of cheese shit on the menu. Like it just depends what season it is. So at the moment they're pretty plain. They're pretty just the standard cheese dippers. But I'm hoping with the Christmas season coming up, we're going to get those nice little festive numbers.
Like
bit
a
of
camembert or something like that.
Well, yeah, like some kind of like festive herb, like in the cheese. I don't know. I like it in my mouth there.
Yeah. I like the chili cheese ones when they do the chili cheese bites. Oh
yeah.
Love
Yeah,
that.
naughty.
Yeah.
Matt, what did you have tonight?
I had chicken pie with chips. Yeah.
Nice. And
It was
gravy?
nice. No gravy. No.
Disappointed. And just for the record, I had a vegetable stir fry.
Wow, that is the worst of all of the three.
That's why he went last.
That's also why he's the slimmest.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And just a little
needs more
side
carbs
story,
in
here, which is really fun. My wife said to me this morning, she said, I've made your lunch, it's in the fridge, don't forget it this morning. I was like, oh, cheers, babe. And I went to the fridge and there was 2 different lots of sandwiches in there. And I thought, oh, that's weird. And I thought, well, I'll go for whatever one was the biggest one. I'm starving already in the morning. Picked up, turns out that had chickpeas in it. Hideous. Hideous.
A chickpea sandwich?
Yeah, don't even get me started. Don't even
That's
get
challenging.
me started. But
What did you do to her to deserve that?
Yeah. That's it.
I don't know.
Slept with her sister. That's what we did.
Wow.
Anyway, enough about my love life. Let's move on to you, Ben. So,
well, first, Ben, wait. Just wait.
Hey.
We've got loads of people that have joined us tonight, and I think it's a good...
Don't worry about them.
Just say hello, because we've got some new faces in here as well.
All right, let's have a look. Well, I know James was just on the show with Ben, so James T. Keegan's here. Hi, James.
Thanks for stopping over.
James, just for the record, Matt, he's wondering where his invite is to our show, but
it's in the post.
An awkward moment, wasn't it?
Post. Yeah.
We've got Pete. Evening, Pete, and thank you so much, Pete. He does a lot of plugging for our show, so much appreciated. Simon Balfe. Why do I know that name? I feel like he follows us. Does he follow you?
He was on the panel. He was on the panel tonight.
Oh, Simon.
There you go.
Oh, sorry.
Simon. That is Simon.
That is
Simon. Is Simon. Comic Lad.
That'll be the one. Right. Hi, Simon.
Yeah.
Someone called...
I came up with that name. Can I just add? That's
Comic Lad.
Trademarked. Yeah.
Do you get money every time we say it then? Is that how that works?
No, I don't think I'm ever getting money for anything Simon does.
This week in Metropolis is here, so our other... Oh, God, Google's listening to me. We've got another one. Geek Hunter.
Which is a
Attention Seeking Geek.
There you go. That's a picture of Jason on that. So,
what's that?
That's a picture of Jason on the Geek Hunter profile.
Yeah, it was Jason Parker. Yeah.
Oh.
Have you noticed that basically everyone that I stream with at 7:30 has come over to this show? Because I said to them all, I said, look, a lot of the people that watch This Week in Metropolis don't like me. So I'm genuinely worried there'll be no one watching. So you guys need to come over, please. Please.
Well, thank you to all that are here. And if you are watching, comment, say hello, and we'll say hello back. That's about all we'll do, really. But now, any more interruptions? Any more, Matt?
No, I'm going to keep quiet for the next half hour now.
Thank you.
Ben,
Ben, you are the Attention Seeking Geek. I've been watching loads of your videos since we first met on Pete's channel, as I've alluded to a couple of times. But for those that aren't our followers that aren't familiar with you, and I hope they will be after this, and make sure you go and follow Ben and subscribe to his channel. But tell us a bit about yourself.
Attention Seeking Geek. I mean, I think we all are, but I'm the only one who admits it. My YouTube channel is kind of a bit of a combination of movie, TV reviews, kind of pop culture stuff, everything from comic books all the way through to kind of figures and toy reviews and stuff like that. That's pretty much it, really. It's kind of a one-stop shop for pop culture, but I like to think that I bring a kind of element of humor that maybe isn't there in a lot of the other stuff that's out there on YouTube. So, hey, it's like Marmite. A lot of people don't like it, but if one person does, that's all that matters. And that's kind of my channel. So,
well, do you know what you mentioned there? And you've missed a couple. Well, I'll say a couple of things. I've got YouTuber, toy collector, reviewer, cosplayer.
Oh,
because
I don't know whether you could call me a cosplayer. Just a man.
Well, I mean,
you dress up as characters. I think that's like ticking the box.
The effort that you go to on some of your dressing up for your videos and for events that you go to and things like that is top marks, mate.
Thanks. Yeah. I cosplay is a funny thing. Like it's something I've been doing pretty much ever since I started going to Comic Cons and stuff about like 12 years ago or so. Like, I think I've always been like, I'm very creative. Like, acting was like my thing, and that's what I did at university and stuff. And that's kind of bled into comedy as I've got older. And cosplay's always been quite a creative outlet for me to express the things I love or the characters that I love. And as I've got older, I kind of do it more in tattoos and stuff like that. But like, and also when you're a fat, bald 33-year-old, you really struggle to pull off a lot of the characters that you actually love, other than Kingpin. So, you know, like my relationship with cosplay has kind of changed as I've kind of got older. But what's amazing now is I've got a daughter that I can rope into it with me. So I'll be planning lots of little daddy daughter cosplays with her. I don't think I'm ever going to stop doing cosplay. It's just kind of it's just evolved a bit. And when I put together stuff for the videos and things, I'm just trying to. I'm I get my energy off people smiling, or like I joke with the name Attention Seeking Geek, but that legitimately I will die if I don't get attention. So exactly. So like having the costumes and stuff, it's something different. It's something different to look at. It might not be what you want to look at, but it's something different. That being said, my She-Hulk cosplay,
that was on point.
It kind of was alarming how good I looked.
Was it that weird sensation of you're looking in the mirror and thinking,
well, I looked in the mirror and had a small erection. It was bizarre.
You know what's funny? I done a using a reface app. I done my face on She-Hulk, and I had several people comment saying,
"You look great." Yeah,
strangely arousing. Yeah, so maybe that's just what She-Hulk's. That's what we've all got going for us with that. But yeah, I mean, have you got a favourite from the different dress ups? Let's call it as you've done.
Dress
up. You can call it cosplays. I was only call it cosplay. Sounds a lot less weird than dress ups.
Dressing up.
When you like dressing up, who's your favourite to dress up?
He goes in his box at the end of his bed and takes out that hat.
Yeah, I've got those chaps that are open at the back. I think nothing will ever beat the feeling that I got when I first put on my full Ghostbuster get up. That was like nice. It was like a feeling, like it really kind of took me, like it sounds kind of corny and stuff, but it was like a dream come true for the inner child, within me. And so that was pretty special. I actually sold on that Proton Pack and gear and stuff, but I've got the new Proton Pack coming, the HasLab one. Right. So that's coming next year. So I'll be putting together a new kind of Ghostbuster get up, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. I bought a silicone Freddy Krueger mask once upon a time as well. And again, that was like, I've never owned like a silicone mask. So of course you have your latex ones, and I actually had a latex Freddy before, but the quality that you get from like a good silicone horror effects mask is just unbelievable, and it just kind of transformed me, inside as well as outside when I put it on. So those two. I was
just going to say, a video of yours popped up, and this is what I love about YouTube. Actually, it brings up you're not just looking at all the current stuff. I've been going back over some of your really old videos.
Well, I've hidden a lot, my friend.
Do you know what you saying about the mask? I'm a wrestling fan. I don't watch it as much as I do, and I saw your Fiend mask one the other day, and wow,
got my Fiend belt here.
I mean, wow, Matt, you remember I used to when me and Matt used to work together, I used to show. Matt's not a huge wrestling fan of the current product, but I remember showing him the Fiend videos at the time, and even you said, Matt, that was terrifying for
pretty full on, isn't it? Yeah.
But the video of you tried a few of the different kind of masks, didn't you, Ben? And then got the proper one, or the kind of one that had the proper straps, and the detail on it was incredible.
Add that to my list of cosplays again, because again it was like a feeling that I got when I had it all on. And I think the thing with like Bray and the Fiend is that I'm a very similar body shape to Bray. Not half as bloody strong, may I add. But yeah, so like when I put it all on, I was like, fuck, like I actually look like him, and like so many cosplays I just don't look like the character, or whatever, or in my eyes I haven't done it justice. But that was like one where I legit kind of looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, fuck yeah, you look cool, man. So like that's up there for me. And I mean that I am like, that's legitimately one of my favorite things to ever have happened in wrestling. Like Bray captured my imagination as if I were a teenage boy watching wrestling again, like Kane did back in the day and Undertaker did back in the day and stuff. Like, kind of took me back to that place, and wrestling hadn't done that for so long. So fingers and flaps crossed right now that he
the White
is
Rabbit
on his way back. The White Rabbit is involved somehow. I don't know. There's so many rumors knocking about, man. It's hard to know. Someone was like, "Oh, it'll be Baron Corbin." I was like, "I swear to God, it's Baron Corbin."
Yeah, but I know Matt's probably thinking right now, I have not got a clue what either of you are talking about. But Matt didn't like football before a year ago, and now all of a sudden he's a huge football fan. So you never know. Matt might get. And not just that, Matt. What did you purchase at the weekend?
What did I purchase? No, I didn't buy it, but I saw it and I felt very excited about it. Which was Summerslam 1992 DVD, which I didn't even know they did anything like that. And I was looking at it and reading the back and seeing it was probably around that time where I used to watch bits and pieces of it, like Legion of Doom and all those sort of like what I regard like the iconic sort of characters of that era on there.
Yeah.
But I should have bought it, really. You're right. I probably should have bought it because I would have loved watching it. I did, at the weekend, though, watch a bit of wrestling, which was... This could be a rubbish story, so I'm going to remember none of it. Do you remember... Right, this is going to be really terrible. Do you remember I did that logo for Steve and it was like a gold and a white writing?
AEW.
Yes, it was that. And there was a guy in denim trousers and sunglasses.
Oh, Orange Cassidy.
Orange Cassidy versus this guy with long, sort of greasy hair over his face.
Yeah, that bastard Pac.
Yes, that was it. And I'll be honest, this may upset you, but it was shockingly bad, in my opinion. the two of them.
But Orange. You've got to see what Orange Cassidy's like, Matt. That's the difference. If you know the character,
he was getting his ass kicked in this particular one. Like, he was all over the place.
They had a really good match about I think it was about 2 years ago. That was a lot better than this match.
It's one of those things with wrestling for me. I know it's all put on. Like it's choreographed and whatever. Like, I'm sorry, but it is. But in this one I was watching, you could see they weren't even making contact with things. It felt like there wasn't that. I don't know, not realism, because it isn't realism, but it just didn't quite hit the mark.
I'm just imagining Matt watching Orange Cassidy do his famous kicks and going, "Well, you're not even kicking him properly." Well,
it was pretty much that sort of thing. I'm sitting there going, "No, come on!" And I turned over.
That's the gimmick, Matt. That's the gimmick.
I turned over and watched Australian Border Control instead. And I thoroughly enjoyed that.
We're losing him, Matt. We're losing him. Anyway, back to you, Ben. No, one thing...
I thought we could be friends before I started this, but I was wrong.
One thing I think Pete mentioned to us, and I think Jason backed it up as well. Am I right in thinking you used to be a comedian as well?
Well, I've failed at a lot of things in my life, James. I used to do stand-up, so I did that.
What is it you used to? What was the sort of point in which you stopped as such?
Just realised I wasn't funny. I don't know.
But you are. See, I disagree. You've got that sense of humour where you know when to sort of bite and you know when to exactly make those comments out. I think it works really well. So I can imagine you doing stand up.
It was funny. I did it when I predominantly did it. I lived in Lincoln for a couple of years, and I used to I aligned with these two other guys, and we used to kind of travel in the week, like different nights, and we sort of gigged up north basically, and then I ended up leaving Lincoln and moving to London. And the thing that I always say with comedy, right, is you got to be the right amount of depressed. Like, you got to be like depressed enough to be funny, but not too depressed where it's not funny anymore. And I had a really shit time in London, and I just and London, I went from being asked to do spots in Lincoln, like, "Oh, Ben, can you come and do 10 minutes here?" And I ran my own night in Lincoln as well, so people were asking me, for spots. I went from that to "Oh yeah, you can do 5 minutes, but you got to bring 4 friends." So it was like, it was really hard to kind of adapt into that. And I mean, my comedy, my set's a slow burner, and 5 minutes is not long at all. And I just kind of fell out of love.
How long are we talking then? 90 minutes? Like how slow of a
I mean,
burn?
that's a real slow burn. That's, yeah, right. That'll burn you into the ground. 10 minutes is the standard, right? Sure. For most kind of comedians and their set. So I just fell out of love with it. I was going for a really tough time, and I just kind of stopped doing it. And then I guess I've never got back into doing it, just because I've not been. My life's took me other places and been doing other things, and now I live
quite
in
antisocial, I guess, isn't it? In terms of the times that you would be doing it, evenings, weekends, and so on.
Yeah, antisocial, but then at the same time, very social, because as I
said,
I
was full of people.
Yeah, and I was gigging with two other guys, so and now I live in a village. I don't really have any mates like locally. Like I've got my wife, I've got my kid. Like my life would just not warrant that lifestyle now. And the thing is, with a lot of the guys you'll see on TV and stuff, like before they get that 1 5-minute spot on One Night at the Apollo, you don't see they've been gigging for 10 years, they might have even quit their jobs and just kind of be gigging and not necessarily even being paid for a lot of the stuff. So it's a tough old game. Like I wouldn't wish it on anyone, and I much preferred hosting as well, because hosting, there's not much pressure to be the funniest. When you're playing a set as part of a night of people playing sets, you want to be the funniest, or you want the crowd to kind of buy into you the most. Whereas when you're the host, there's no pressure for that. It's just like, no, I'm the guy in between. If I'm funny, it's a bonus. So I always preferred hosting, and then that kind of, if I ever do anything now, it'll be more in that vein, like I have been on YouTube and recently at a Comic-Con and stuff. So yeah.
How did that open up in terms of the Comic-Con work and so on? Was that as a result of sort of those things you'd done before, or was it the YouTube that sort of opened those doors?
So I hosted the cosplay parade at Thought Bubble last year. I used to be part of that Killer Comic show on a Thursday night, and we interviewed one of the organisers of Thought Bubble as part of that. And I basically just messaged her after and just said, I used to do stand-up and stuff. Like I've always had this thing where I'd quite like to host a cosplay parade or be involved in the cosplay kind of showcase of some sort. She says, yeah. And that ended up happening. And I really, I mean, it was a nightmare in terms of organization, but I enjoyed doing it. And then this year I was speaking to a friend of mine, Martin, who runs Huddersfield Comic Con. The reason he's a friend of mine is that my wife basically collared him on his driveway once. So he's local to her, and he used to have a Ghostbuster card just on his driveway. Nice. And we were getting married, and she just went up to him one day, like through the fence, and was like, "Oh, we're getting married. My husband loves this sort of stuff. Like, can you give us a car?" And he ended up giving us a Jurassic Park Jeep as part of our wedding day, which was incredible. But I've stayed in contact with him, and we've become friends. And yeah, he runs these local. They're very humble, small sort of local Comic Cons. But I said to him this year, like, hey, I'd like to be involved somehow, whether it be cosplay or whatever. And he ended up giving me 2 Q&As to do, which was like a complete surprise. But yeah, that was Saturday just gone, and I really enjoyed it. Like, would I want to do it for free every weekend? Maybe not. But I'll definitely, if he'll have me back, I'll definitely be back doing that next year. And I'm in talks with Thought Bubble at the moment to hopefully host a cosplay parade again this year for them. But
I keep hearing everyone talking.
We're in talks with my agent right now.
Just negotiating the deal.
Say again, Matt.
I say he's just negotiating the deal.
That's it. Yeah. Right. I keep hearing about Thought Bubble. Have you heard of this, Matt?
No.
I think we need to get involved. This sounds interesting.
I forget you
And
two are like comic book noobs, aren't you?
We are. Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
Or boobs.
But interesting. You've mentioned your wife a few times, and again, a little birdie tells me, and me and Matt have done our research, that you're actually a star of TV as well, Ben, aren't you?
You haven't done your research. Jason Parker just threw me under the bus last week.
Last week,
yeah, he did actually, and then we did our research.
Then we done our
that's
research, and there you were on Take Me Out, and you met your wife there.
Yeah, exactly.
I did.
It's a positive story, isn't it?
In the end, it was, yes.
Yeah.
Took me. She said no initially. Just by the way, she turned her light off. So 5 years or so of. I didn't chase her for the whole 5 years, by the way. Like
standing outside her house.
Other things going on during that time, right? I wasn't just like in a bush for 5 years. But yeah, eventually she sort of gave in, and here we are. And now we, married, house, daughter. Like it's pretty mental, really. But what's more mental is that show. It's quite common. Like there's like 10 marries. There's like 6 babies from the show now, maybe more. Like there was a lot of kind of, a lot of love came down that lift.
Yeah, because the format of the show and whatever, you don't really imagine, because it's quite fairly shallow, I guess, isn't it? In terms of like the selection process. And that. You wouldn't imagine it ending up with romance or long-term things. I'm intrigued though, so we've spoken to people that have been on TV shows before. What was the selection process like to actually get on it and so on? Was it very strict in terms of they wanted particular characters or so on there?
Yeah, I think so. Like I went into it. I was season 3, so I was quite familiar with the show, and it was doing it was a phenomenon at that time, and so I went into it knowing, right, look, I'm not. You can count my abs with one finger, so I'm not going to be that guy. So I'm going to kind of give them a bit of a character version of myself. And I think, I coming from a kind of performance background and stuff, I could kind of turn that on a little bit. And weirdly enough, that was probably the kind of start of my stand-up, was where I kind of made a bit of a cartoon version of Ben Crampton. It was kind of Ben Crampton turned up to 10 sort of thing. And my first stand-up gig was because of Take Me Out. Basically, someone saw me on it and said, "Amazing, you should try stand-up." And yeah, but so they kind of obviously do. You do the form, and then there's a couple of phone calls, and then you kind of get called in and you do like a camera test or whatever, and it's funny, they really don't want to tell you you've got on until right at the end. It's like, you've got on, come next week. Like, it was that kind of quick towards the end. Just surreal. But you do your rehearsal with the producers and stuff. So that moment you come down the lift is legitimately the first time you see all the girls, and it's weird that because the boys go around the back to get in the lift, like you can kind of hear the audience, but you can't really see them and stuff. So there's like a good kind of 200 people there as well. So that moment you come down the lift is sort of terrifying, really. So, but yeah, I just had such a blast with it. Like, as I said, I wasn't taking myself seriously at all. Although, that being said, I thought I was going to get blackout or whatever they call it. And I was planning to legitimately cry to try and get in the papers, make it like a scandal. But when I it was like coming to the final round and my cosplay shed scene had already played, and I was like, oh my God, there's still people with their lights on. I was like, I actually really want a date. Obviously only one poor girl unfortunately left a light on. She forgot to turn it off, apparently. It was such a ride, and they they fly you out that night.
Wow.
To, you know,
Fernando's,
or Cyprus, as it was for us, and then you have your date, you know, the kind of day after, and then they fly you back the day after that. So it was a real kind of whirlwind. It was just something that, like, I'm so glad I did at the age I did, and it weird thing, isn't it? Fate, you know, where that led me to, and like, it's funny. Grace was told by the producers, "There's a guy you're really gonna like," and she fell down the stairs during their rehearsal that day. So she was like moody. She was basically moody. So she, that's what she tells me anyway. To make me feel
I was concussed. I couldn't see you.
Yeah.
Well, just to wrap up on this sort of stuff, Ben, leading to where you are, not just today, but right now, we can see behind you, for the viewers that are watching, we can see some of your collection of toys, which I've watched again. That's it. Oh, wait till you say, oh my God. If you're listening to this, you need to get onto YouTube or Facebook or Twitch, as Matt's mentioned, and watch this now, because
seeing the beauty of those figures.
Honestly, I've watched loads of your videos, and Pete's started doing his ones as well over the last kind of 6 months, let's say, and it's just the detail on some of these figures now. I mean, as a gentleman in my mid-30s, I probably don't appreciate just how, I mean, my now 6-year-old, it's literally has a toy and they're fighting each other and it's smashing them. And I show them the videos that you and Pete do in particular, and he's like, "Wow, Daddy, that looks amazing.
I want
Can
one
we
of
get
those."
one?" I went, "No, I don't think so."
Yeah, no.
I did look there, but I saw your post about the Miles Morales hot toys.
Oh.
My words, that is a
I
thing of
love Miles.
beauty, isn't it? And then I looked at the price for it. I was like, "Eesh."
Crazy story about that. That was, I had to pay for shipping, which I'm still bitter about. But that was bought for me during a live stream.
That's right. I watched that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was, I haven't been on for the last couple of weeks. I sort of can't be doing with it anymore. It's like, it's so hard, man, fitting streaming and YouTube around life. But I used to go on this show every Sunday, One Sip Scale Man, and he's sort of doing quite well. You know, we usually have about 100 sort of people in the chat, which for my channel, it's like another world. But this guy very randomly just said, I wanna bless someone today, and Ben, go out and get yourself a Miles, and he tipped $300 on the stream. Yeah.
And you, I remember watching that, and you were genuinely like stunned.
I cried. I cried.
Wow.
It really was. And I was really worried after the stream. Like I said to the boys, like, I didn't ask for that, did I? Like in the way that I was talking about the figure or anything. And they said, no, like just accept it. And I sort of reached out and eventually found a guy, which was really bloody hard as well, because he didn't call himself what he called himself. So I had to really kind of put on my Sherlock hat to find him, but eventually found him and was able to kind of express my gratitude, and just really humble, just really kind of blasé about it as well. But the Alex Tingle on Instagram, go and give him a follow and show him some love, because he's a very generous stranger, really.
Wow.
Yeah, very cool.
Amazing, isn't it?
Have you got from your collection? I mean, how many would you say you've got now of your figures? Have you got? Have you got a number on it?
It's a pretty humble collection, really. I mean, there's probably about 20, I think, or so now, like 20, 25.
What's the selection process? What do you? Is there a particular thing that you go for, or is it just literally characters you've loved? The
last year or so has been pretty kind of just characters I've loved, and I've actually even picked stuff up that I've since sold because I didn't have a place for it, or I didn't kind of feel as passionately about the character, or Will Smith slapped someone at the Oscars, and I didn't want Will Smith in my collection anymore. But like,
what Will Smith did you have though?
I had a Men in Black figure, but it wasn't a great figure anyway, to be honest. So I think I was probably looking for an excuse to get rid of it. But like, I was legit triggered by that whole thing, and really disappointed as a fan. I'm sure I'll forgive him, because I admire his work so much, and I will over time separate that. But as fresh as it all was, I don't want to fucking look at his stupid little face like right now. So
you just snap the head off and put it in the bin.
I got rid of that, but I do miss that, because I love Men in Black. It's like one of my favorite films ever. But now I'm at a good place, but frustrating place for my collection, in the sense that everything's got a home now. So like, I'll show you. Like, so this is like kind of an Endor, end of Return of the Jedi scene. So realistically, I can only really fit like maybe Leia in there, and it has to be Leia in an Endor outfit. So very kind of strict. I've got Indy, which I kind of really just don't want to draw any attention away from him, because I love him so much. I was looking, you can get like a 1/6 scale horse, so I might get like a horse and have him kind of holding a horse. And then of course you got Miles.
So good.
The only other one Hot Toys did from the film was Gwen, that comes with a spider ham, so that's on the list. And then you got right at the bottom Sosu Toys, Rorschach.
Wow.
And they've just announced Comedian. They've got Ozymandias on the way. But it's one of those things, it's like, I don't want to start a collection that isn't going to be finished. And Susu Toys are what's called third party. So it's like unlicensed. Like, they could, that wasn't called Rorschach. That was called like Ink Blot Man or something, like, to avoid like, but these companies.
Is the quality just as good though?
Like, no. Hot Toys is your kind of premiere, type. But there's a new company coming called In Art, and they're considerably more. They're about 150 more a figure. But man, it's like photo realistic. Their first one is a Heath Ledger Joker, and it's just unbelievable. But so I've got my like horror, kind of slashers and monsters and stuff. So this is nice because I've got lots of room in there, and it's kind of a collection that I can just always build on. So I've got Freddy coming. This is my like Nightmare Before Christmas. That's pretty much, I've pretty much done that whole range now. The only one I haven't got is Oogie Boogie, but he's like 20 inches tall, so he just won't fit anywhere, unfortunately.
Lay him on his side.
Darth Maul up there. So that's a Hot Toys. Power Rangers.
Wow. They're incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And then I've got Kick-Ass down at the bottom. So everything's kind of got its place now, and I almost don't want to cross like move, have like multiple movies on one shelf and stuff. So I'm at a good place, but a frustrating place, because there's a very clear list of stuff I want now, and I just it's just so expensive, boys. Like it's
I mean, as we discussed with Jason, and we've had with Pete and other guests who are in the comic book world, and Pete's kind of across the two. It's just the value in these things. I mean, you guys were talking about that comic that recently sold for, what was it, nearly $3.5 million.
What's wrong with people?
But you're not a comic book collector, are you? Am I right in saying that?
I was. I sort of was / am. So I had a pretty extensive collection. I recently, within like the last year, I made a video about it and stuff. But I sold my whole collection. I only kept my signed books. I think I've got like maybe 3 Grails in there, like first appearance of Rhino and stuff. And then I've been collecting facsimiles, which are like exact reprints. So to the point where they literally reprint the adverts and everything. So
it's really cool.
Some mug out there is paying $3.8 million for an Action Comics #1. I've got a crisp copy down there for £4. I love that because it's like the facsimiles. I feel like I'm still holding history.
Yeah.
If ever my little girl gets into it, I can be like, right, this
Here we go.
is the first story of Spider-Man, and I can go through it. You know, so that I really love those, and I'll always want to have those. You know, in my sort of man cave, however that evolves in the years to come. But
are they something that the publishing houses do, or is that another third-party thing? The facsimile copies?
No. Marvel and DC both do them, and even some of the other kind of Dark Horse and Image and stuff have started doing them. Like I've got a boy's facsimile and things.
Oh, nice!
Really cool. I like that idea because I think it's that. It's a shame if you've got that thing that's a cultural icon that you can't read it, you can't appreciate it. And having recently, I was given quite a few comics, which were from, I would say, sort of late 80s to 90s, and looking at the adverts is one of the coolest things ever. Like, let alone the story, you're looking in it and you've got adverts for Sega and like that. The games of the area and wrestling as well, particularly sort of comes up in those. Incredible.
Like first Fantastic Four, first Iron Man, and then it's not just Marvel and DC because that's like first Turtles and stuff. So
I was actually looking at those today on eBay. Well, weirdly enough, the Turtles one. I can't remember how I got to it, but and this is something I will definitely buy. Being the comic book noob, but I do look out for things. I want a set of Radioactive Man comics from the early 90s, with like the Simpsons ones.
Was it Bongo? Was it
Bongo Comics? Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember how I got to it, but I then started going through eBay, and there were quite a feut sets on there, and they're reasonable. They're not expensive at all. It probably is.
It won't be long. Well,
but the reason I stopped was because it was never going to stop. With comic books, like it's ridiculous, and because it's weekly and things, it's just like it just gets absurd, and you're paying £4 for like a filler issue for a story that's not going to mean anything in the future and stuff. And variants are just, everything has about 15 variants for it now, and it just, for me, I was just like, you know what, like this is I need to stop this before because there's no glass ceiling. Like, at least with the figures, I know once everything's filled, it's filled. That's it. So I miss it though, and it makes me sad.
And on that sad note, just to cheer you up, Ben, because I'm pretty sure it was you that commented how much you liked this last week.
Oh yeah,
it's time for an interlude. I'm just messing. It weren't that one.
And just as a reminder to everyone, you can download that for free at thisweekinmetropolis.bandcamp.com, and you can own it forever. Put it as your ringtone.
I'm sure Ben already has.
House roof chimney smoke.
He bought the 12-inch.
New moves there. New moves that I haven't even. It must be the youth of today. Before we get into our stories that have come up over the last week, just want to plug next week's show, where we're going to be joined by a previous guest of ours, and he hasn't been on for quite some time. It's Mark Bernal, who is did he start it up, Matt? I can't remember.
Founder, I think he's probably the right term.
Of lesser known comics. So from out in the States, an independent comic book publisher. Him and one of the actual writers, I believe, of one of their comics, David, they're going to be on next week's show. So for all the comic book fans, make sure you check that one out. Nice. Before actually we get into this week's stories, we have had a question sent in from Question Mark. Are you familiar with Question Mark, Ben?
I don't know where I am.
Okay. then
You will soon.
we'll soon. Just watch this.
Question mark.
Hi gents, thank you for having me back on. My question is about Avatar. I've sent James a couple of things to do with when all the sequels are coming out and the names of them that he now has. And I wanted to know really whether planning 4 sequels to a film that came out so long ago, is that a bit of genius or is it a bit of arrogance?
Question mark.
New favourite tune. It's replaced. Same person. So it's fun.
Exactly. That is the same vocalist, isn't it? On the no, it's not.
No,
It's Ryan
Mark
did it.
done the no. But anyway, we digress.
Oh, is it like Sam Ryder doing the vocals or James
Yeah,
Arthur?
before he had his big break.
Yeah.
Nice,
he did that.
nice.
So, have you seen the news this week, guys, about Avatar and the years mapped out? So, Mark, the text that Mark sent me was saying, "Imagine we're going to be 40 by the time we're sat in the cinema watching Avatar 5 or whatever one it is."
How many
And
years
I
is
said,
that?
What's that?
How many? I haven't seen the timeline. How far off is the?
Well, that's
Yeah, I mean, you'll be 60, but
I probably will be pushing 60. That's why I asked.
I mean, I've got zero interest in these movies.
Yeah, me too. Hate to say it.
You a fan,
I think the first film was good, and
yeah.
at the time it came out, it was visually like groundbreaking. That great, loved it. But I don't know. Even then, I probably were a bit stretched for a sequel. I wouldn't be that excited then, and let alone this far off. It's like any film we spoke recently about, a film where you've had a sequel years afterwards. It's just not the same, is it? But who am I to say? What do you think, Ben? In regards
we are
to
talking
it?
about, Blue Avatar,
Yeah.
not like the Last Airbender.
Not the Last Airbender. No, that's
okay.
it. Which I loved that cartoon. That was awesome.
I really liked the first one. Like, it was a real kind of cinema experience, wasn't it? Going for the first time, and it really was revolutionary in terms of the effects. And even now, you watch it and it still looks stunning.
Yeah.
The plot was pretty kind of formulaic, and I think the film potentially went on at least half an hour longer than maybe what it should have. But I really like that film, but it's not like one that I'm like, man, I need to watch that once a year, to get my Avatar fix. Like, I kind of, it's fine. I'm usually attracted to the Zoe Saldana. No, okay. Like I get similar to yourself, Matt. Like, I just don't feel like an excitement for the second one, but I very much will be there. Maybe even on day one to see that second one, just because I'm so keen to kind of have that experience again. In the cinema.
Will you be painted blue? Is
in
what
the cinema?
fans want to know. Yeah,
I will, and I will plug my ponytail where the sun doesn't shine. But yeah, weird, by the way, that they like plug it into babies, plug it there, and then plug it into like animals and stuff. Like, stop, like, just cut it off, weirdos.
Now, the title, as Mark mentioned, the titles have been announced for the films.
Hit us with them. Have you got them? Yeah.
Have you heard of them, Matt?
No, I've not.
Okay,
Avatar 3: The Revenge of Gargamel.
Well, the Avatar 3 is the most unique title, I would say. But so the second one is The Way of the Water, which I think we knew that anyway from the trailers that have been coming out. 3, Avatar: The Seed Bearer. Sounds like some sort of weird.
Sounds a bit
porno.
sleazy, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Then we've got Avatar: The Tolkien Rider. Could be another blue movie. Literally,
Tolkien
or token. It's like
as in
one green avatar, just like, hey, I'm the token green avatar, guys.
Tolkien.
Oh, Tolkien. Oh.
And then the final one. I mean, whether it is the final one, Avatar: The Quest for. Is it Ewa? EYWA.
Is it is it the case that James
Ew.
Cameron's just got carried away then? Because I know when he did the first one, he planned 2 sequels. I think he was doing both of the sequels together.
They've already filmed the third one, haven't they?
Have they?
Yeah, I think that was filmed alongside this Way of the Water one. So I think it's arrogant. Like I 100% think it's arrogant.
Yeah.
You know what? Me and my wife actually walked out of the Avatar Cirque du Soleil halfway through.
Really?
Wow.
Why? What was the trigger?
It was just so dull. It was just so. The storytelling was just so bad, and there was just like you couldn't even focus on. You know, everyone's jumping around, and there was.
Everyone's blue. You know.
I just
stuff up their ass.
Just had that. You ever had that moment with your partner? You just look at each other. Do you want to?
Yeah, come on. Bad enough.
You both just go. Yeah.
That was a little bit like me during the second episode of Andor, but we'll talk about that later.
Swear to God, James, don't test me.
I've watched your review, mate. You did actually make it sound more
better than it was to you.
Better than for me personally. I did like the third episode though. I think you were spot on actually. Sorry, I'm digressing here, but I think you said the second one you couldn't really.
Yeah, like even now, I'm not even sure I could probably tell you the. So I'll give you that. I'll give you that on the second one. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Thanks for Mark for the question, and
Thanks,
I think we'll agree it's arrogant.
It's going to be terrible. But can we visit in the comments a little bit? Because a few people have said something. Simon said, "Too many avatars sound like a Transformer movies lineup." It does, doesn't it? You know, if you think the first Transformers was good because it was the first sort of exactly. It was the first version of that you'd had for a long while. It was amazing. But then with each one, it just lost value, didn't it?
Once they added Mark Wahlberg, mate, it was dead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Skids and Mud Flaps. So what was that? The second one? That's a guilty pleasure for me.
It?
Yeah, where they're like hanging off the balls or whatever. They're off the butt balls. Yeah, I love a bit of that.
Yeah, Matt was purely enjoying it for the Megan Fox factor.
That's always a perk, isn't it? Yeah.
Not so much anymore. And what's Pete Sam?
Disney have invested heavily in the rides, etc., in Florida, so they'll be pushing the movies.
Yeah,
I'm sure that if you're making, you think how much money is spent on one movie now? They're making 5 of them. How much money have they put into this? They're going to have to try and make it work, aren't they? It's going to.
But even that ride, like I've gone on it virtually because that's with you got like young children now, like that's you put on rides, right? And they just love it. They love going on the rides via YouTube.
What do you mean?
Via YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, you never do that with the kids. No. Yeah, like
I should do that. I've never thought about
she
that.
might be a weirdo, but my baby girl loves you put on a ride and she just sits on my lap and.
Are you pretending then to move her around?
Well, yeah, and then she goes, "Stop moving, Dad." Like the Avatar ride is very similar to the films in the sense that there's almost nothing kind of emotionally pulling me in, but I love the sights and I love the sounds and I love the atmosphere. Like I was speaking earlier about the Blade Runner sequel, and I know Matt's not a fan, but like. That was a similar thing for me. It's more just about the
aesthetic of
the
it,
sounds, the aesthetic, the feeling, the mood.
Yeah.
Realize the content is probably quite dull and boring, but
it's secondary.
Everything else is so beautiful that, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Any more?
That's what people say about me. You're so dull on the inside, but the aesthetic.
But look at you.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, stunning. We'll move on now to some stories from the world of pop culture that have caught our eye over the past week. I've been digging through a lot of the posts that I've been sharing. Ben, we'll kick off with you, mate. What's caught your eye this week?
The Mario trailer is coming.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, which is exciting.
Really, really excited for that.
And
I love the cast. And
that's Chris Pratt is doing his voice, isn't it?
So yeah, Chris Pratt's Mariah, and then I think you've got, I want to say Seth Rogen's Donkey Kong, and
wow,
Jack Black's in it. I think if I remember rightly, but yeah, I'm just to have a real kind of full budget animation of the Mario, like that
It's
that character
perfect
means a lot
for
to
it.
me,
I think I'm surprised they haven't. I know in the late 80s they did like a cartoon, didn't they? But it just seems.
Well, they did a film.
Well,
Was
yeah,
that
and they
Bob
did
Hoskins,
the.
wasn't it?
Yeah, Bob
Yeah,
Hoskins.
Bob
I've
Hoskins
never
and
seen
John
that.
I
Leguizamo.
remember that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's one of those things now that's like, it's when something's so bad and
It's so
you hold
bad,
so
it's-
much
it's-
nostalgia for it,
Yeah.
though, that like I watch it now and I'm just like, this is awful, but I love it. Like but again, I think it was just because it was such a childhood film for me. But yeah,
But
Who
it's
was
so
Luigi?
removed from Mario, isn't it? It's not really, but it is Mario in name, isn't it? But not.
oh, it's weird. I mean, we talk
Anything
about
else,
Blade Runner.
really?
That's like a weird Blade Runner-esque kind of
Yeah,
marketplace scene, and like Cooper, like the Goombas look terrifying. Like it's a very strange interpretation of the games, but I just give me any Mario content, I'll have that all day long. Yeah.
Do you think with it? I mean, what I find a bit strange with it is, does it matter who plays Mario? Like, because of Mario sounds like Mario. Does it matter if Chris Pratt does it? Is Chris Pratt gonna add anything to Mario? Because it's not Chris Pratt. Do you see what I mean with that?
I've heard, the sort of the controversy is that he's not Italian or whatever. Like, I guess it's a difficult one. Like, I'd always like to kind of pride myself on taking the right side of the argument for that sort of stuff and being quite PC with things. But with Mario, like it's not. They never say he's from Italy. Do you know what I mean? It's like he's a fictional small plumber man. Like, it doesn't. So I think Chris Pratt will bring his own flavor. Like, I think there'll be those lines, but it will be Chris Pratt's voice. I don't think it's. I'd be very surprised if Chris Pratt's like, "Oh, it's a me." I don't think it.
It's
will
a
be
bit
like
for me, it's a bit like Groot. Like, Groot is a more extreme example of it, though, isn't it? That's Vin Diesel, but like Vin Diesel doesn't bring anything to the table in Groot, does he? Because Groot's a.
How we
And
get
also, a lot of people were offended because Groot, traditionally is actually a Spanish tree, and people weren't happy that the accent wasn't portrayed well. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, a lot of people hate on Chris Pratt just because I think he's been in so much recently, and obviously he's been quite full on about his born again Christian status, I think. But yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was. Last year, wasn't
Jesus
it?
loves you
Or the early
and you
part
and you.
Wow.
But not you. But yeah, no. So I certain things, slaps aside, I can separate, the actor from the performance, and I always enjoy watching Chris Pratt wherever he's in. So I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. He's good.
I'm a big fan. I'll go on to me next. So something that caught my eye, which again I was buzzing about when I saw, because you and I, Matt, we're huge fans of this little kind of movie trilogy, which is Cloverfield. And again, I know Pete discussed it a little bit on the show previous, but a new Cloverfield movie in development, Matt.
That's really good. Is it? And have they shared at all how it's gonna fit in? Or
Well,
so
luckily
on?
enough, I watched Triple G's show before, and I think it was James on the show.
And you know exactly the answer.
Well, no, I think it's going to fit as a sequel to the first one.
That's
Right.
what they're saying, yeah.
But you never know with these. I mean, I don't know if you recall, Ben, but are you a fan of these films, by the way?
The first film is one of my favourite films of all time.
That was
Like,
incredible.
legit, it's like one of my top 10. I said this earlier as well. Like, when I went to the cinema, it was like a visceral experience, like I felt every thud, I felt every like I think it really perfected that handheld camera kind of style that obviously Blair Witch kind of brought in, but like it really, I felt like it kind of took it to its peak. Like I don't think you'll ever get better than that in terms of like a handheld camera movie. I'm nervous about this sequel though, because I loved like 10 Cloverfield Lane. I didn't love the Paradox as much, but what I did enjoy is the mythology around Cloverfield and the you know, all the kind of conspiracies and there were websites and there was just a tiny thread that kind of connected all of them, and you were kind of theorizing that at the end of 10 Cloverfield Lane was that the monster arriving, or was that other aliens, and were they related at all? And then of course at the end of the Paradox we actually see the alien that we're familiar with, or the Godzilla thing that we're familiar with. So I just love that, and I just don't, it sounds very Hollywood, doesn't it? Like Cloverfield 2, it just sounds a bit generic, and I'm worried. Hasbro, right, made a big massive Cloverfield monster figure, and that is like a grail of mine. The reason I say it's a grail is it's about £700.
Wow, Jesus!
Is it 1:1 scale? Then
it's only you'd hope so, wouldn't you? No, you wouldn't even get a Parasite for that shit. But it's like that big. It's like, I don't know, 15, 16 inches tall, like, which is big for a Hasbro sort of type thing. But yeah.
What I loved about Cloverfield, I remember going back, God, I can't even remember when the first one came out now, but it was more the fact that it was all kind of very sudden, wasn't it?
Quite a long while ago, wasn't it? Isn't it 2006 or something?
Yeah, do you remember it just came out? And I
remember seeing the trailer. I think the trailer was it one of the Batman ones? Am I making it up? But I remember seeing the trailer at the cinema and thinking, what the hell is this? Because it just shows you them in the party and then seeing the explosion and that, and it didn't really tell you anything about it, and just waiting in anticipation for that to come out. Incredible.
Well, J.J. Abrams did a ton of like guerrilla marketing for it. So like the website for the slushy company thing that he goes to work for, that apparently the satellite is linked to or something, like really? That website was like up, and there was like CEOs listed and everything, and people didn't realize that it was like part of this marketing.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, all these breadcrumbs and stuff. Like if you've ever got a full day to yourself, just look up like the Cloverfield kind of conspiracies and all the research. I'm sure there's YouTubers that have put it all in one video nicely, but it's amazing. Like Lost is kind of like that as well. Shout out to Hydra Collectibles. He's done a couple of videos around all the kind of Lost, guerrilla marketing in a very sort of similar vein. I love all that stuff.
I don't have a clue
what's going on, but
I love Lost, so I'll have to check that out. Definitely. Matt, what is your story of the week?
And the one that, well, again, it's something that James shared and I wasn't aware of until he actually shared it. And then sort of caught a couple of articles about it, is that James Earl Jones isn't doing Darth Vader anymore. But I just think the most interesting, that's, I don't know, with that, I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm not entirely sad about that fact. And it's sort of, he's the voice, isn't he? But, I love him in Coming to America and things like that as well. I think he's awesome in different roles. But I just think the interesting thing is the whole AI thing, in that they've already used that, they've got his permission for him to basically live forever in that role, in whatever Disney wants to do. And apparently they've used the technology is called, I have it here, Respeecher, and apparently in the company they used for Luke as well in one of the Star Wars programs to recreate his voice. So I just think we speak about AI a lot on this show, and I just think it's such an interesting time to sort of live in, when you see that like entertainment is just changing in these very subtle ways that you don't even realize, sort of behind the scenes. And they will, with visually as well, and they'll probably be able to bring Darth Vader or like whatever character they want back
Yeah.
and it will be seamless. At a point, you'll just get it completely seamless, and it will, as I said, these
Especially as
actors
technology
can live forever,
advances and things
basically.
like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think it's a good thing? I know. Are you been a fan of a reboot, or do you want to see these same characters being dragged out again and again and again?
Yeah, I'd like to keep seeing that because it's what I love. Like
Yeah.
Star Wars is such a huge part of my life, and like the thing is with this news, it's not something to be sad about. It's something to celebrate the fact that he signed off on this technology, because it does mean that we will hear those kind of iconic tones, in whatever it be, future animations, films, whatever they do. So it's great. Yeah, of course, it's in the wrong hands. Anything can be misused, can't it? With deep fakes and AI voices and stuff like that. But in terms of kind of storytelling, it just means that you can recreate, like, because James L. Jones is a storyteller. The way that he, the way that his voice kind of embodies a character, whether that be a bloody big, space Sith bad guy or a lion, like he is that character. So it's like
he speaks, you listen, as such, don't you? Because
exactly. So this is a way to continue telling those stories in the way that he does through his voice. So I think I'm all for it personally.
The interesting
because I think Stan Lee signed off on something similar in terms of like his, Marvel if they want to use his likeness and stuff like that. Yeah.
I did a little bit, as I do, a bit of research on this, just to see if me and James can do it on the show, basically. And there are services which cost, I think one of them is about, say, 20 quid a month. Let's say something like that. And all they need is 2 hours of your voice to get a good match. So, that you provide them with that amount of dialogue, and you then have access to that AI voice. So we could be doing, let's say you did a video and all you wanted was a voiceover. All you have, once you've created that voice and it's there to use, you can, you provide it a script and it does it, and it will narrate a video for you and so on. Which, just having that as an accessible service that you or I can use, wild. And you can change the pitch, like you can. Once you've put it in and it's got the tone, you can change it to a more feminine voice or whatever. So there's that adaptability there as well. So
it's hard, isn't it? Like, because for us three, that's lazy. Like, if you're someone who's paralyzed, who is deaf or something, and isn't able to kind of have speech to the same degree, then this is incredible stuff. This is life-changing stuff. I know that I once watched a news report where a guy, he wanted a specific accent to represent him, when he was young, before he kind of lost his voice and stuff. So he specifically found a guy that sounds, similar to what he sounded like. Did exactly that, got him in a studio for 2-3 hours, recorded everything he needed, and then it's in his computer, and when he types, it's the voice that he thinks he should have, which is quite beautiful, really.
Well, we're thinking the legacy. It is really deep. I mean, James and I sometimes talk about the fact that, as long as YouTube's around or whatever platform's around, we could potentially in 20 years look back. Well, we've saved the videos. We could look back at us 20 years younger, or like our kids could, or whatever, and see what we were like then. Imagine that if you after you pass on, your kids could have a conversation with you.
Still read your kid a bedtime story and stuff like that.
Stuff like that is mind-blowing, isn't it? It is really powerful. But we have had some breaking news.
I was just going to say, I don't know if are you
James L. Jones is on the phone.
He's joining us live now. No, Jason Parker, just to steal all of our thunder, has just come in with some breaking news, which Variety have just confirmed.
Bullshit.
Hugh Jackman.
Where's my phone?
I'm just googling to fact check this.
He's
to
going
see
to
if
play
it's on there.
Wolverine in Deadpool 3.
I'm not having it. I'm checking now. I'm not having it.
There's nothing on the Google.
Yeah, I can't see anything. Come on. I'm in there. Come on. Wait,
Well-
hold on. Culture crave. Hugh Jackman. What? Rotten Tomato. What? Fandom. Oh my god. It's happening.
It's happening.
It's happening.
Apparently, it's all over Twitter, according to Peter. So,
Oh my god. That
that's
would
huge.
be spectacular news. And the thing is, I actually made a video on it a while back. I did my idea for Deadpool 3, which is, it's not aged well because some of the characters have been used now and stuff like America Chavez and things. But essentially, my idea was talking about the fact how easy it is to insert Deadpool into the MCU, or even to do something side by side, because he's got Cable's little thing that he's messing about with, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's already taken him to different dimensions where he like shoots himself, Ryan Reynolds, and things like that. So it's so easy just to be like, oh, okay, and now it's a buddy cop film with Wolverine, you know.
Yeah.
Now I'm in the middle of Secret Wars. Like it writes itself, and it's Deadpool. So
Do you know what?
Oh,
You've
yes.
just answered one of my questions, because I was thinking, isn't Wolverine, the last version we saw of him was Logan? So how does that work? But like you say, he can mess
Different-
about now and
different
jump
universe,
time.
different time. Yeah.
Very clever indeed.
Man,
We've
that's
just
great.
got a little bit of time to mention the discoveries of the week. So I'll kick off with this. I've been watching, I have watched Andor, as we mentioned earlier, but I started watching Dharma on Netflix. Oh my
I
God.
finished it yesterday.
I'm 4 episodes in. Oh my God. Now,
Heartbreaking.
a lot of people are saying to me, like, they can't watch this. It's too messed up. I'm not watching it because it's, this is amazing. Obviously, it's based on a true story.
Mhm.
I'm just fascinated by like how actors like Evan Peters, isn't it?
It's,
Wow, to get into that sort of headspace, and you've heard all the
it's
stories.
top of my
before.
list of men that would make me reconsider things.
Not after watching this, I hope.
I love Evan Peters.
He was brilliant in what's the name? WandaVision. I thought he was fantastic in that.
Oh, he is Quicksilver. Like, I don't care what anyone
Quicksilver,
says.
from
He is Quicksilver.
X-Men, yeah. But in this, like, Matt, I'm assuming you haven't watched it.
I haven't watched it because I'm very much in that place that I don't know whether I want to, because I've read a lot about Jeffrey Dahmer and how awful he was in terms of the things he does, and I really don't know whether I could watch it.
I feel really conflicted on it, after watching it, because I'm a massive American Horror Story fan. So Ryan Murphy, like, I love Ryan Murphy's work, but the reason why I love Ryan Murphy's work a lot of the time is that it's like, it's over the top, it's like, it's really gory, but it's kind of it's done in this really kind of camp, melodramatic way, which is how I like my horror, that kind of tongue-in-cheek stuff. The problem with this is that it's a real, very tragic story. About a horrendous man who
preyed on vulnerable people, basically, isn't it?
And also exposed, so much kind of injustice, because I'm telling you this, if Dharma went for young white girls, he would have got caught a lot sooner than what he did.
Exactly that.
That was, even as early, I think it's in episode 2, like, it's quite disturbing. Like, there's the 14-year-old boy that the police essentially hand back to him on a plate and say, because he convinces him that it's his boyfriend, and he hasn't got a clue where he is, the boy. But
and they had that, they play like a real verbatim clip of the phone call from the neighbor, to the police. And just awful. But like, I think the series, like, there's some stuff, and I'm like, how do the victim's family feel about that being shown?
That's always my thought with it.
Did we need to necessarily even see that?
Because it's within people's lifetime still, and that's the thing,
Exactly.
isn't it? It's,
But then they do towards the end of the series really explore the experience of the victims and of the families and stuff.
Right.
And there's one particular story about one of the victims who was a deaf individual, and it's told in a really kind of what felt like heartfelt way, and it makes you fall in love with the individual, which makes it all the more tragic. But like I do worry that the series, I don't know whether I kind of found it respectful the whole way through. Like it felt a little bit kind of, it wasn't sure what it was trying. Like I have no doubt that Ryan Murphy did everything with research and love and care, but and also having Evan Peters play Dharma, it's like, Evan Peters is a Hollywood, he's a B-lister, A-lister, he's up there at least, isn't he? And does that glamorize?
Well, that's it, because
to an extent,
ultimately it's still, and again, that's another of my concerns, they're still trying to create entertainment as such. And when there's got to be points where they change it slightly to make it into a series as such. And where is that line drawn in terms of how they do that? Because they're going from a real thing to drama.
Because as a result, it's like become a meme already. Like there's like an image, and it's already become a meme, and it's like I don't know how comfortable I am with.
No.
Like,
well, with that, and I've got a Jeffrey Dahmer story to share, which
just before bed.
So glad you survived.
I was all right, yeah. But in the 90s, like, humour was sort of slightly different. And there was a T-shirt brand called Serial Killer. And I owned a Jeff T-shirt. So it had Jeffrey Dahmer's picture and it said Jeff under it. And I wore that without even thinking. I thought, I being the edgy teenager, I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
And I had a...
OJ one?
No, Charles Manson, I think, was the other one. It said Charlie or something under it, something like that. Yeah, all the good guys. So but that's it. I mean, even then, which was probably not long after he was convicted and so on, there was still that culture of, let's subvert it a bit or whatever. But
it's weird.
Have you still got that T-shirt?
Oh no, went a long while ago.
Weird thing though, like, because I am a massive slasher, as you saw earlier, like, and horror fan, but for me, these are monsters, these are boogeymen, these are, it's fantasy for me. It's like they're as good as comic book villains, and when you're telling a real story, it becomes a completely different beast.
Exactly.
I would encourage everyone to watch it, because I think it does tell the story better than anything has yet, in terms of kind of how thorough it is with showing
they're doing a companion thing as well, which I saw a trailer for the other day, which is conversations with
a killer,
Dahmer, I think, with a killer, which maybe that's something I'd probably watch more. I don't know, but it's still
we watched the OJ one, didn't we, Matt?
That was amazing. Made in America, because I thought that was amazing, because you got to learn who he was before you got to the sort of crime part of it, which was really interesting, and seeing that. But I mean, he's in a different league, isn't he?
Of course.
He only killed 2 people, didn't he? So
only 2.
Lots,
Loser. Ben, what was your weekly discovery? Your top one.
Bloody Wolverine right there and then during this show. That's I'm streaking around the house after this after this show. I'm telling you, I'm so excited. I think
Wolverine claws on. Yeah.
I think. Oh God, I should have prepped. Just trying to think what has kind of broke.
Andor.
Yeah, I guess Andor. Yeah, I think my weekly discovery is that I am not enjoying She-Hulk, and I'll tell you why that's my weekly discovery is because I've been desperately trying to enjoy it, and there has been a couple of episodes where I've enjoyed it, but now the ratio has dipped to the point in favor of, there's more bad episodes than there are good episodes now. So my discovery is like, oh, this isn't very good, is it? I'm really, really hoping that if the last 3 episodes are strong, great, then that will kind of, balance out those scales. But after the last episode, it was just another kind of dud for me. And I'm gutted, to be honest, because I'm such a big fan of Jen Walters and the comics. And I just feel like they've just not done elements of her character justice, and the effects have been so inconsistent. The kind of subplots have been completely uninteresting, and ultimately it just feels like a very aimless and pointless show amongst the wider MCU as well. So yeah, but we'll see. And I don't want Daredevil to save the show, because the point is the show is the She-Hulk show, and I want her to be empowered by it being good. And it'll annoy me if Daredevil's the thing that saves it, because it's like, oh, here comes, but we'll see. But I also love Daredevil, so I am looking forward to it.
I feel exactly the same about that. I know, Matt, you haven't got that far into it yet.
I know. I've watched, I think I saw episode 1 and then 3. I didn't see the second one. And like with both of them,
3's the worst one, I think.
I just ended each one with like, God, I feel like I should be watching it, but I don't really want to.
Well, let's end on a positive note, Matt. What was your?
Mine is a very light story. I like to end these shows on quite a light story. It was something. It's an old thing that I discovered.
More drama.
No, it's even better. It's Mariah Carey's story. Like you didn't think I'd be putting one of those out of the bag, did you?
No.
Apparently, this is something that apparently was discovered in 2020, and I had no idea that this happened. But in 1995, apparently Mariah Carey released a secret alternative rock album, and no one knew about it. And it was, it was out there. And it was only when she wrote her memoirs and like the book came out or whatever that people discovered that she did it. So yeah, it was. But when she recorded it and really wanted to put it out, and the record company said, "You're not having that out with your vocals on it, basically, because it's going to ruin your career. We don't want you to stick to pop stuff." So she left her backing vocals on and got someone else to sing on it. And it's the album.
Guns N' Roses. And who was that?
It wasn't anyone that you would know. But it was the album is called Someone's Ugly Daughter, and it's by a band. It went under the name Chick, was the name of the band. But yeah, I just thought it was weird.
Good? Have you had a listen?
It is absolute shit.
So they were right.
I acquired it because you can't buy it. Well, you can buy it, but people are selling it for like 50 quid or something like that. I thought, there's no way.
Are you now selling it for 50 quid?
Yeah, now I'm printing off my own copies for 50 quid. But it is awful. It is absolutely awful. And you can imagine why the record company thought, not a chance, you're not putting that out, because it is really bad. Okay. It sounds like, the way I describe it, it sounds like, I know a lonely sixth form student wrote it in her diary and sort of, sung it over distorted guitars. It's just really poor. The lyrics and everything, but yeah,
I'll stick to my sweet, sweet fantasy, baby.
Exactly. That's where she's. That's her place.
Don't mess with the classics.
No, definitely not.
Exactly. Well,
and there we go.
That was a light way of ending the show. Before we wrap up, a couple of things. Ben, first of all, thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate you taking the time to join us. Where can our listeners and our viewers find you, and what have you got coming up over the next kind of few weeks?
Yeah, so you can find me at Attention Seeking Geek on Instagram and YouTube. As James alluded to, I recently posted a review of Andor episode 1 to 3. I don't know if I could be bothered to do it every week. I'll see how I feel. I might. I might. I've got a very abusive relationship with YouTube, by the way. It's very we sometimes go weeks without talking to each other, like, and then we go full on together, and it's too much. And then she, sleeps with someone else, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" But yeah, so I might be doing that. Otherwise, you can catch up with my video, Huddersfield Comic Con, which basically was just a little montage video that I did at this local Comic Con from the weekend. Always on Triple G Comics channel. I think we're going to be going live every Monday soon. We've got some horror videos coming out during October as well, spooky month. So yeah, that's pretty much me.
And we will put all the links as usual for
they are there already.
They're there already. So make sure you go and check out Ben's channel. It is amazing content. So kudos to you, Ben. And also, just a reminder that the giveaway is still open until Friday. And what I can advise, look at that. You can be the owner of our limited edition Season 11 hoodie. There's been loads of people that have liked the post, loads of people that have reshared it. But don't forget that you do need to go on a bit of a witch hunt and find
a witch hunt.
It is a witch hunt. Find
scavenger hunt.
Secret Instagram profile.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you need to share that to the This Week in Metropolis page. There have been probably half a dozen so far that have found it.
That's good though, isn't it?
Congrats to
and
those
you have to, just as a clue, it's all about me. That's
it's all about
all about me.
Porteous.
Yeah, all about me.
There's a clue in there somewhere. Anyway, as we mentioned,
I'll get on my broomstick and I will go on my witch hunt immediately.
And just to clearly, Pete has found this profile because he said the secret profile has damaged him for life.
Yeah. But
Some
he has
people might
sent me
say
some of his favourite arousing pictures. They're Pete's words, not mine.
Yeah.
And it is clean. It is clean, the profile.
It is safe for work. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Well, most of it was done in work time, so yeah. Anyway. Oh, God. Anyway, right. Thank you to everyone. We've had loads of people on tonight watching and getting in the comments. So thank you to everyone who's joined. Thanks to Ben for bringing them. And we will be back, as we said, next week with the guys from Lesser Known Comics. But until then, I'll play out the sad, sad outro. Goodbye.
I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as we did. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our future episodes.
Yeah, and you can also follow us on all social media. So you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok.